Sitting in my blackness, number 4. Lessons I've learned from my elders. Elders are our history, the gatekeepers of our identity, people who we should learn as much as we can from, the vessel of truth of who we really are. My elders are wise, experienced, the people who I respect the most, the reason that we can make less mistakes in life because we can learn from the life experiences that they've already had. Much different from who we are as young people, but they're valuable nonetheless. My elders are not me, but I hope and I aspire to become as wise and as giving and as nurturing as they are. I was born when my mom was still in college, and when I was a little kid, my mom was in a master's program at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, which is our hometown. And I remember one of the volunteer opportunities that my mom had to do was go to a home for older adults. She would take me on these trips, and I remember as a kid how much I did not like going to these homes. At that time in my life, I would go to play the games, and I thought that was fun, but I didn't like the smell of these places. I was ignorant of what was really happening, and I was afraid of a lot of older people, especially those who were experiencing and or suffering what I now know as dementia and Alzheimer's. I did have that side of that fear of older people, and then because of my grandmother, I had this other side of myself that really appreciated and respected and upheld the lives of older people. One of the most amazing things that she did and still does to this day was visit people who were sick in the hospital. Oftentimes, these were people who were a lot older. And growing up in Mississippi, there was only one hospital. And so I spent a lot of time at older people's homes, and we would just go there, and she would just sit and talk with people, and anything that they needed, she would bring it to them. And in those moments, I got to hear a lot of stories, and at the same time gain a lot of wisdom, a lot of respect, and a lot of empathy and sympathy for the conditions of how life becomes once we do get a lot older. When my great-grandmother was still alive, I used to love spending time with her, and I would just stand in the kitchen and watch her eat her food, because there was something special about how she would eat soul food like greens and cornbread, and she would never use a fork. She would just pick it up with her hands and have a piece of bread and pick up the food and eat it. And now I reflect on that, and I think about how that was some type of tie back into where we really came from. It makes me sad that I don't know that part of my history, but that I picked up on those types of behaviors and those types of cultural things very early on. I also remember that I would mimic my great-grandmother's mannerisms, and one of the things that she did was chew tobacco. And so she would put it in the bottom part of her mouth and just let it sit there, and all day long I would sit with her and find these packs of the big chew packs of gum that they used to have back then, and I would stuff it all right in front of my gums, and I would just all day long just like her. And I think about moments like that of just funny things that would happen whenever I was around older adults, especially my great-grandmother. What have I learned from my elders? So many great nuggets. From my grandpa, I learned that the best people who navigate life are the people who know how to adapt. Also, don't let people see you sweat. And I always thought that meant physically, but what it means is that put your best self forward even in moments of stress. Even when you are going through, hold your head up high. Hold it with pride, keep that confidence, know and have faith that things will work out. Don't break yourself down. Another one is to be more forgiving. Some wisdom that I learned about myself as it regards my blackness. I learned a lot about navigating life as a dark-skinned woman from my grandmother and from other darker skinned women in my life that I had at school. And part of it is that you have to see yourself as beautiful, even if the world is telling you that you're not. You have to have that beauty so deep inside of yourself that it just illuminates and that it exudes from your spirit. I grew up being teased a lot, and that was something that kept me from disliking myself. One elder when I was in college, and his name is Jim McLeod, and he was the dean of students as well as leader of the scholarship program that I was in. I once got in trouble with him, and he told me, "Your hubris will be your downfall." What he means by that statement is your arrogance, your unwillingness to ask for help is what will ultimately be what brings you down. And that makes me realize that I'm not in this world alone, and I can't do everything alone, and I need to ask for help. In as much that I need to have pride in my abilities and who I am, I need to have the humility to know that I don't walk this journey alone. And that's one of the most important things that I've ever learned in my life. So I thank Dean McLeod for that wisdom. And of course, there's just so much that I've learned over the years, but those are just some of the ones that really stick out, that constantly and almost daily are in my spirit. So I thought I would share that. I also invite you to share some of the wisdom that you've learned from elders in your life. What have you learned from your grandparents and your great-grandparents and older adults around you? Share it in the comments below. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for more, and share it with a friend.